Okay, so in terms of the way you work with Iridium Blue Water, for instance, how do you enhance its superconductive
Purity
properties?
levels. We're removing, structuring water is basically the removal of a lot of excess bonding that forms a kind of like a piece of gravel versus a piece of sand. If you have too large of a molecule structure size when it's not formed symmetrically, or it's organized where it's formed with a bunch of other contaminants, there's a lot of things that like to share electrons, and if the water is short on electrons, what will happen is the water will coagulate with a bunch of things around it. And so by breaking those bonds and allowing the water to be more satisfied, it forms a more symmetrical structure. Therefore it becomes more dense. It holds more energy in that structure. We learned very quickly that water could affect agriculture, depending on how we worked with it, in a very different way. I mean, you could selectively increase the growth rate in a plant by creating frequencies in an environment around that plant that the plant thrived in, that it really enjoyed. You could do things with the soil where the soil had better absorption of water. The structure of the water itself would dissolve the minerals and put them in a more bioavailable state, which would mean that the plant had the ability to take up those minerals. It had less energy use in digesting them or using them, so it could focus on its growth.
In terms of the water you make, is there have you seen evidence that it's a special superconductor?
Only in the sense that it can transmit information more effectively, and it holds mass amounts of energy. So it has capacitive discharge that is equivalent, several thousand times normal potable water. Okay, well, everything is frequency. All energy is shown as frequency, as far as how we perceive it with instrumentation, at least. Whether that's sunlight or light that you see as frequencies, or audible frequencies that you hear, or other frequencies that you sense by touch. Those just happen to be within ranges that we can determine, and much like an instrument has ranges at which it can determine what frequency is what. When it comes to water holds all of them. So the key is having them in harmonic bonding. And when something is in a harmonic symmetry, it's pleasing to us. If it's a distorted symmetry, it doesn't. It sounds like somebody banging on a piano, and it's very, it's not attractive. You want to leave the room. So what we're trying to do with water is we're getting it to a more harmonic state, a more organized, dense energy, harmonic state. As you do that, the information transfer happens more rapidly and more cohesively. So it's kind of like if you were listening to a radio with a bunch of static on it, you might not pick up every word that the person says, whereas if you listen to something that was incredibly still, you would clearly hear their words. All right?
Gotcha.
So in this sense, we want water to have a very clear presentation of its information, and be that to a plant and animal.
I've been reading and researching this stuff for many, many years, wondering if at all that it was possible, and now I know it is, and that is probably one of the most exciting things that has happened this far in my life.
Oh, marvelous.
And this is the beginning of what's to come. That's all.
Here we are. We're on the road back from another trip to the deep end of the possibilities. So I'm hoping that what we'll gain from this is the ability to have our own water that's an information carrier, and a way to build a second company that gives us contacts in the community and gives us a whole new range of possibilities for helping the planet, and will add to what we've already done. I'd like to see our relationship with these two open up whole other areas to us, and will just make life a little bit even more exciting and happy. That's it. Of the events of the weekend?
I really don't remember anymore. It was a little bit over my head. All I know is I really enjoyed the food.
All right. All right, is that all you have to say?
For right now.
Okay, good. Bye.